What's up guys, and welcome back to another EVE Online video. Tonight we're going to run the Emerging Conduit in HiSec in my Praxis. We recently got given the Praxis during the Capsuleer Day event, and I thought I'd pick mine up because I was inspired to do some more Triglavian stuff. I hadn't really touched on it much, but during the event obviously I took my Gnosis, I did a video, took my Gnosis into some event sites. I really enjoyed the content, and so I thought maybe I'd pick up some more Triglavian stuff. So I start with the Emerging Conduits in HiSec, and then I think there's some stuff coming out in a few days that should be really interesting. So, like I say, picked up the Praxis because we got given it during the event. So a lot of you guys should have one as well now, just knocking about your hangar. And as you can see, I've got the Capsuleer Day skin on as well, which I think is quite a nice one. Right, let's go through the fit real quickly. It's a passive shield tank fit, which I think is fairly good for the conduit. My skills aren't brilliant; they're good for shielding, but we've got heavy missile launchers as well, which I'm not skilled into particularly. So, excuse me, hopefully a lot of you guys can pick this up. Also, you can fit it relatively cheaply. This doesn't look like I have, it's 500,000, but about 350 million of that is the rigs, because I've gone for the Tech 2 large core defense field purges. You could go the Tech 1 versions, but the fit might be a bit tight. Up to you to try it out. If you can fit better versions of these, your DPS is higher, you might be able to get the cheaper versions of the rigs. But the defense field purges do your shield recharge rate, so it will drop to maybe, I've got 164 at the moment, I think it would drop to maybe 130, 140 if you went for the Tech ones. And in the high slots, like I said, running heavy missile launchers. I don't have the skill for Tech 2, so I've had to go meta, so I've gone for the Arbalest across the board, and using Inferno heavy missiles. Thermal or explosive, I believe, are the best damage types to deal, so you could use Nova missiles as well. And I've got a Drone Lig Augmenter 2 in here for the drone control range. In the mid slots, obviously just lots of shield, so 4 large shield extender 2s, make it nice and big. An adaptive invulnerability shield hardener 2, and then thermal shield hardener 2 and explosive shield hardener 2. Again, for the damage type, the majority of the damage will be thermal and explosive, so that's where I've gone for the resistances there. There is also quite a lot of EM and kinetic, so you never know, you might be better trying another adaptive. Just experiment a little bit. And in the lows, I've got a ballistic control system 2 for the missiles, damage control 2, drone damage amplifier 2, and 4 shield power relays 2s, which again help with the shield recharge rate at the expense of capacitor, but capacitor isn't too important with this because it's mostly passive. You can see the DPS, it runs about 559. A lot of that is drones. I got 365 from drones because I use berserkers. The berserkers you can use for the entire run. You'll see in a minute. You can use the berserkers for the frigates and things. The damage application is good enough. The fit for me, because I'm not heavily skilled into it, is relatively tight. In the main video you will see now, I ran the site successfully, dropping down to maybe 20-25% shield, which is fine. But in one of the variations of the spawns of the site, I can't tank all the damage up in the final wave, and I do have to warp out. I would say about 80% of the time I can do it without leaving, but then the remainder I do have to warp out. But I believe if I could convert these to Tech 2s, skill up to that would be fine. But the nice thing about the conduits is there are no anchoring Triglavians in there. so there is no warp scrambling, so you can leave if you need to. So you can take a few risks, you can play with the fit, see what works for you. So without further ado, we'll jump into the site. So you join us just warping into the Emerging Conduit here, and you land in one corner of the conduit. We'll see as things start to load up now. First thing you want to do is find a warpable object, so a bit of talassonite, over 150 kilometers away on the far side of the triangle, and warp to within 100 meters of it. That will drop you more or less on top of the conduit that comes up, and you can see it spawning now. That's where that's 80 to 100 kilometers away, so that's where the rats spawn. So ideally you want to be right next to it for speed. Warp to there, drop your MTU, and the first wave spawns. This one is the smallest first wave I've seen, just the 3 rats. And the way I like to do it is to take out the high damage ones first. So any of the Rasnaborg, so the rats that start with Rasnaborg are the highest damage. So Rasnaborg Damavik, Rasnaborg Kikimora, they're the ones I like to focus down first. Obviously turn all your shields on, all your hardeners on, get your missiles going, get your berserkers out and start doing damage. And it's important to make sure you pick up the aggro from the rats first before dropping your drones, otherwise they will pick up aggro. But once you've done that, I found that once you've done it on the first wave, I found that you don't need to bring them back in. They don't pick up any aggro after that. Obviously, you'll notice that I failed to drop MTU because I was still warping, but I'll notice and I drop that now. And so we'll just work our way through the drones. After the high damage ones, I like to go for the starving just to preserve what little capacitor we have. Those guys do cap neuting, whereas the harrowing, their damage is quite high, but obviously they've got target painters. We're already a very large target, we're a battleship, which is also why I don't bother orbiting my MTU or anything. The reduction in the increase in our angular velocity doesn't outweigh the signature of our ship, so no point really moving in my opinion. And so this time, this is Zoria's Kikimora. It doesn't spawn in every site. This isn't that common, so they're also high damage, so you take them out first. What you'll probably see from the damage coming through on the Rasnaborg Kikimoras and Rasnaborg Damaviks is some EM and kinetic damage, and they're quite high because I haven't got the tank set up for that, so that's why I like to take them out first. Also, there's a slight bug in my animation on this one. It says I've got my drones all focused on the Zoria's Kikimora, but the Rasnaborg Kikimora is taking damage because my drones have split their aggro without telling me. But so you can just push through like this. There's enough there's enough damage application from your berserkers to take out all the frigates, all the destroyers, and you just push through. This site has been relatively easy so far. As you saw, already 3 rats in the first wave. I think there's only been 5 in the second wave, and only 2 of them are high DPS ships. It is highly variable though, so really you should never have a problem with the first couple of waves. It's only the 3rd wave that might give you some issue, but it is highly variable and it's just worth keeping an eye on. The other thing that I find quite important is in this wave is to make sure you've got your missiles prepped for the final wave. So I don't know if I do it here, but I normally will reload my missiles whilst I'm taking out the final frigate with my drones, because that way you can apply, obviously you don't need to waste time reloading when you're trying to take out the high DPS in the final wave. I have failed to do that in a different site, and quite quickly that one error dropped me well into armour, I've got a clip of me dropping into armour at the end of this video just to prove that it's not all sunshines and rainbows with this fit. It does go wrong occasionally, so I've got a little clip of that at the end. And so just as we take out the final rat, you'll see the final spawn. There's a cruiser, there's always the Azorius Vedmak, that's the big thing. And then there's obviously the high damage ones, the Raznaborg Damaviks, and if there's a Raznaborg Kikimora, you take those out as well. Since this video I have changed up the order I try and do things to try and reduce the incoming damage more quickly. So obviously the Azorius Vedmak being the cruiser takes a little while to kill, even though it deals the most damage. So what I have taken to doing more recently, and it appears to work so far, is take out the Raznaborg Damaviks and Kikimoras before going back to the Vedmak. So to take that DPS off the field more quickly, and then go and focus on the Vedmak. And once you've taken those three types of ship out, the Azorius Vedmak, the Raznaborg Damavik and the Raznaborg Kikimora, the rest of the site is fine. Your tank should be able to hold whatever else is being offered. This was also quite an easy one again, because you can see there's no destroyers in this wave, but some of the tougher spawns where the tank does struggle a little bit is you get 3 or 4 destroyers with the cruiser spawn, and then all the frigates as well, of course. So again, we might see the different spawn in the one where in the clip at the end, just to give you guys an example of what you can face. More often than not, like I say, 80% of the time the fit is fine. You can see on this one we're not going to drop below, I think it's 40 or 39% armor rep, shield. The other thing to bear in mind with passive shield tanking as well is your shield recharge rate is highest when you have 30-35% shield. I think it's 1/3, so 33% shield left. That's when shield recharge is optimal. So if you're worried that your tank's going down a bit too quickly when you've got a lot of shield, don't worry too much, because as you drop towards 33%, that recharge rate will increase drastically. Where you need to get concerned is when you drop below the 30% mark, the recharge rate starts to slow down again, so that starts to become a problem. So we'll just cycle through the rest of these frigates. You can see the mobile tractor unit is pulling in all the wrecks, and there's obviously you can get the loot out of the mobile tractor unit. I like to salvage at the end because you can get some good salvage out of the Troglavians, but we'll cover that when we get there. So as I say, just carry on through. You can see all the E-War that's going on at the moment. We've got capacitor neuting, that's what I'm killing at the moment. There's web of fire, stasis web of fire, there's guidance disrupting, sensor dampening, target painting, and tracking disrupting as well, I believe. None of this is really the end of the world with a passive tanked, mostly drone damage ship, it's obviously nice that there's no anchoring, but it's stuff to bear in mind if you're going to try to come in with a different ship, not necessarily a Praxis, but something that relies on good tracking or good speed. You need to bear this in mind and maybe change up which order you take rats out. And it's always the specific rats do specific E-War, so Tangling do the web of fire, Ghosting do the dampening, so tracking and sensor disrupting, Blinding does the sensor disrupting is blinding, and so on. So you need to pick your target based on which E-War you want to get rid of first, and for me it's just the DPS. Get them off the field quickly and the rest fall without too much hassle. You can see the nice big numbers from the damage application from the drones there. They do miss quite often, but when they hit they do 200 to 300, so it's good enough. If you're having trouble hitting too often, obviously you can swap to Valkyries, go for the medium drones. And the choice of drone here is also for the damage application, so Berserkers do explosive damage, so Minmatar drones do explosive damage, which is why I've chosen them here to complement the thermal damage that I've got from my missiles. If you wanted to do thermal damage, I believe it's the Galente drone, so Hammerheads and Ogres I think would be what you would want to go for if you wanted to do thermal damage with your drones. but don't quote me on that. And you see now the rest of the fit is that the rest of the site's fine. Our shield's just working its way back up. We've finished this without too much hassle. Just got to clear these 2 remaining rats. As soon as you get the main DPS ships off the field, the tank holds up absolutely fine. So we're just pushing through now. The last of these. I'll mention it now, just before it happens. When we clear this last rat, one of the perks, the main reason for doing Emerging Conduits is you get an instant payout, just like running missions, level 4 missions. You get paid by the corporation that you run the missions for. If you do Emerging Conduits, the DED will pay you a bounty of 4.5 million, and that's obviously then subject to a little bit of tax. You can see it come in here, 4.5 million, and you get 300 loyalty points with the DED Concord Bureau, which also add up quite quickly, and you can go and spend them at a loyalty store. So here you can see the corporate payout, and the loyalty points add up nice and quickly, 300 per run. So I've got 1200 total at this point. You can go and spend them in the loyalty store to get things like implants, blueprint copies, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's that site finished. We're now going to salvage, check the loot first, I guess. This loot hasn't been brilliant at this site where we've got 2 million. The Triglavian survey databases are the valuable things in here, and they're always worth 100,000 if you take them to the right stations. So you can get a consistent value, but the loot is highly variable as well. So you can see from here we've got 1.1 million. Oh, also I should mention, we're talking about multiplasmids. If you're not aware of what these things do, they allow you to change certain modules, so you can enhance, or it might reduce some effects. You can see the list there of what the possible changes to a certain module. So they're interesting to get. I'll speed it up now for the salvaging because it's not the most interesting to watch. But Triglavian salvage is really useful if you're going to get into Triglavian shipbuilding. You want to get you require a lot of salvage. So I've got some corporation mates that are doing some Triglavian building, so I like to pick up salvage wherever I can and give it to those guys. And it just adds maybe 4 to 5 minutes onto the site. The whole thing, if you run it without salvaging, takes about 12 to 15 minutes. So you can run at least 4 of these an hour. If you think of it, like I said, the loot is highly variable. I'll show you a clip in a minute where I get 16 million out of it instead of 2 million. But say we average, and I've heard reports that you can get up to 50 million, although I've not seen that. But say you average 8 million in loot with the 4.5 million from the bounty. That's 12 million. Do 4 or 5 of them an hour. You're talking 50-60 million in payout, and then obviously you've got the loyalty points as well. It's not a bad way to make a bit of ISK. And so here's an example where I got 16 million. This is a different site. So just to give you an example of how much the loot can vary, and then we jump into a demonstration of the site going wrong. So this is not wrong, but the tank breaking. So this is the final wave on a different site. You can see there are 2 Raznaborg Kikimoras which have high damage, a Raznaborg Damavik. There's 2 more destroyers with the Vedmak. So I'm trying to take out the the Raznaborg Damavik and Kikimoras first before the Vedmak, but the DPS is just too high, coming from the other destroyers as well as all the frigates. You can see my shield start to melt. We hold for quite a long time, get rid of a few of them, but eventually I have to warp out and warp back in. And like I say, I reckon this happens in maybe 20% of sites, that the final wave is this sort of spawn. So just worth bearing in mind. The risk is very low because there's no warp scrambling, and obviously if you've got if there are player-owned structures, a citadel or an engineering complex or anything in the system, your repair fees are 0, so there's no problem running into armor or running into even structure. But obviously You don't want to lose a $500 million ship. So I stick around a little bit too long to try and get rid of the Vedmak before I leave, which I probably shouldn't have done. And because I'm overcooking it slightly and want to get out before I lose my ship, I end up losing a couple of berserkers, which is a bit of a waste. But there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.